In this episode,
right? Because when you are a realtor, you are basically a salesperson. Once you cross the line and you start bringing on team members, you now become a business person. And that's a hard transition. Make sure when you have a small team, one person can really cause a lot of disruption, right? And it's funny, I've observed this a lot where the things they don't like doing, like prospecting and all these type of things, they try to get the person they're hiring to do those things, right? That's your
The
job.
reality is, I think this is a big nugget. This is probably my favorite video we've done. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here today with Martin Bouma of the Bouma Group Realtors. My name is Danielle Hayden. I'm the team leader of the Keller Williams office, and we want to wish you a happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day.
So Martin and I, we want to get together and we want to talk about something that I think every real estate agent in their first, at least before they're getting their license and even into their first couple years, I think they really struggle with this question. Do I want to be a solo agent? Or do I want to be on a team? Or we can even take that a step further. Do I want to grow a team?
You want to be a team, yeah.
Yeah, so let's dig into that, Martin. You've got tons of experience in real estate, building your own team to draw from, and you look at candidates all day, every day, right? So tell me a little bit about how you see that playing out for agents.
Well, it's interesting because, when I got into business, no one did teams. It was just a very odd phenomenon. Now, a lot of people get into this business right away from day one, they want to have a team, right? And so what I tell people, there's something you have to think about. Are you a salesperson or are you a business person, right? Because when you are a realtor, you are basically a salesperson. Once you cross the line and you start bringing on team members, you now become a business person. And that's a hard transition. It takes a lot of intentional work because suddenly now you're having to delegate, you're having to manage people, you're having to, it's a skill set that a lot of people don't have. And you can develop it, but it doesn't happen overnight. And so that's something that you have to realize. And it's interesting because I'll watch a lot of people, they take off and they do get to 20, 30 units, and all of a sudden then they want to bring on a team member. And you just see them forever struggle. They never really get beyond that level because they don't know how to become the business person, right? So I think the number one step is if you want to develop a team, you have to become a student of becoming a business person. I think that's very, very important. The other thing that I see is, I grew my business because what happened is all of a sudden I realized I got to about 40 units. And I really find that's about the defining moment. Once you get to 40 units, it's really, really hard to provide the level of service you need without leverage, right? And at that point, then you bring on the leverage. Then the second mistake a lot of people make is they all of a sudden try to make that person do everything, and then they hardly do anything. And it's funny, I've observed this a lot where the things they don't like doing, like prospecting and all these type of things, they try to get the person they're hiring to do those things, right? That's your job. And so I think the second mistake is when you bring on leverage, make sure now that with that free time that you now continue to do the things that grow the team, right? That's called prospecting, getting the listings, all those sort of things, business planning. And so those are a couple of, when I watch people, the two big mistakes are they don't understand they have to become a business person. And when they hire their first admin person, they usually do it way too early. They don't have a plan about how to move forward with that. And also they delegate everything to that person. And then they sit around and twiddle their thumbs, And so those are that's the mistakes a lot of people make at the beginning. Once you get through those parts and you have a team, the beauty of it is I can spend most of my time on relational things, right? I can now spend my time talking to my clients, following up with agents, doing all this kind of stuff. And in the background, I've got my admin people doing all of the background stuff. I've got my buyer's agents working with the buyers, and I'm working exclusively with my sellers.
Yeah, one of the things that as I grew my own team and then became team leader and really got into the MAPS models, one of the things that I think made it really simple for me is if you think about your business as 3 departments, right? Every real estate business has mostly 3 departments. One would be lead generation, getting the leads in, right? The next one would be sales, converting those leads to clients. And then once they become clients, now you're into service, right? Which is mostly the operations side, which you're talking about. And, if you think about which one of those can I pull myself out of, you always pull from service and operations backwards, right? You can't really lead lead generation because that's literally the driving force behind the business. If that doesn't happen, the business doesn't happen.
Right. But what I found over the years, that's the thing that most people don't like doing or they're afraid of doing, right? And so a lot of times they'll bring on the first person, hoping that person will do that. I mean, I've just seen it happen over and over and over again. You want to make sure that you leverage that you now take that free time to do the prospecting and the things that grow your business, right? That's what's really, really important.
So I want to talk a little bit now about what if you don't want to build a team, right? If you know that you don't want to build a team, you want to build a business, but you're not worried about, growing this massive machine. You're like, you'll refer out everything you can't handle, let's just say.
Right. Right.
Then we've got being a solo agent versus being on a team. And one of the things that I'm noticing in conversations with folks is they either know that they have to build into their budget. They have to build the growth into their budget if they want to be a team, right? So
Correct.
30, 30, 40 is the budget model we follow. You only keep 40% of your profit at that point because you need to budget in 30% for cost of sales, 30% for operating expenses. If you don't want to build a team and you're a solo agent, most of the time these people are netting more than 40% off of their GCI. They're keeping quite a bit of it themselves, but they cannot grow. So let's talk a little bit about that. What, from your perspective, looking at those two types of agents, what's the pro and the con?
It's interesting because I've analyzed this from top to bottom. And what I've really found is that as an independent agent, probably about in our market, the most money that you're going to make is probably 200 to 250 at net. Okay, that's someone who's really on their game, because you get to a certain number of units, 40, 45 units, you at that point, you really need to bring on leverage, because what's going to happen is your service drops, right? You can't be on top of everything. And so I have a lot of people, I'll talk to them and say, well, Martin, I'm doing really good and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I get it. But, on a team, what will happen is you make a smaller split, but we're doing all these things for you. So you can focus 100% of your time on just that one money-making activity, right? And again, they're going to be a top buyer agent on a team is probably, again, in this market, you're talking 200, 250. I've had one that went up to 270. But, so it's interesting that the two avenues are about the same income-wise. The big question is, do you want to be an independent person, or do you want to be part of a team where you have the support of the team, you have generally the lead generation done for you? Our team, you've got from contract to close is handled by an admin person, right? And so you can focus exclusively on doing that one thing, which is working with the buyers or working with the sellers. On our team we have both. So there's pluses and minuses. Income-wise, I think they're about the same. The question is, what model are you more comfortable in?
And I think the distinction you're making here too is that the team has to be run well, right?
Okay.
Like for that to work, for you to actually be able to have the ability to focus on your one thing and really drive hard at it, you do have to have a team that is structured correctly in this way. One of the coolest stories that I can think of is when I was researching buying agent versus showing agent models, right? Do I bring on a showing agent, grow it into a buyer's agent, or just hop right into a buyer's agent? I ran across a story from Seychelle Van Poel down in Texas.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. And she did a video with Jenny Woolick, another great lady.
Yeah.
And so they were talking with one another about her experience with the showing agent model. And it started because she had a buyer's agent who, for some reason, had to go part-time, had to go 20 hours a week. And she also didn't want her income to dip down. So they were scratching their head trying to figure out how she was going to get more done in less time. So they brought on a showing agent for this gal. She outperformed by, I think it was either 2 or 3 times, all the other full-time buyer agents. Just by in 20 hours a week, just by having a showing agent.
But it's because she had the right talent. I mean, I'll tell you what, it is all about the talent. Because a lot of people say, well, I could never give that up. They only want me. No. If you have really good talent, then you can hand things off. Because guess what? They probably are better at it than I am. You know what I'm saying? Because if that's all they're doing and they're available in the office, it's interesting where, like I think I've talked about this. Sometimes when I get a certain seller who says, Martin, I only want to work with you, right? That's fine. So I'll take Mary Jo with me and we'll work on it together. Then on the way back, say, hey, Mary Jo, you know what? Why don't you, as I'm doing other stuff, can you touch base with them and say, this happened, this happened, this happened. You know what I mean? And guess what? The service is what matters, right? And they sometimes even forget about me, right? And so it's the worst thing that you can do is make a client feel they're being handed off. And so you got to make sure that when you have team members, they've got to be high caliber, they've got to be talented, service oriented, and the client's got to become number one, right? And so that's the mistake a lot of people make. They don't have the right talent.
I've been talking to a lot of people about this because, outside of our brokerage, there are a lot of solo agents. They're not really encouraged or shown the pathway to creating a team the same way they are within Keller Williams. It's practically, all we talk about is how do you build that business. And so they do suffer from that myth of like, I am white glove service. I am everything the client needs. No one else can do it like I can do it. And I tell them every time, my showing agent will give 200% better experience to my clients than a worn out me.
Oh,
it's
completely.
100%, right? And so that's one of the interesting things. When you're a solo agent, you have to be a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
I do an exercise with my family and we look at our 3 core values. We got this exercise from the One Thing Goal Setting workshop, Goal Setting Like a Billionaire, I think it was, at Family Reunion. And one of my core values is simplicity. I needed more of that in my life to feel healthy, to feel sane, right? And so I knew I needed to focus more and diversify the positions on my team. And when I really learned that lesson of how to have success through other people and have a team that functioned really well, my life improved 100% and my customer service.
No. If you're the same person that's doing the thing over and over and over again, they're going to be a lot better at doing that. You know what I mean? As somebody who does it once a week or twice a week or whatever, right? It's a whole thing, specialization. But like I said, it's all about the talent. It truly is. That's why I said we are always looking, right? Because you always want to make sure that you've got the best people working for you.
Okay, so I want to ask you one last question. Sometimes you guys sit down with these talented people and you discover, or you help them self-discover, that they're actually better suited perhaps to be an individual agent than to be on a team.
Right.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, let's help the folks who are new to real estate or getting their license and need to make this decision. What is the best advice you can give for them to self-discover the right path?
Well, I mean, like with us, I've been doing this long enough. I can tell just by the way the response I'm getting and things that I'll say sometimes, you know what, I think you are better to be on as an independent agent at the market center, right? And we refer those people to the market center.
Okay, and I'm almost wondering too, like if someone comes to you and you can see that they're a driver and they're impatient, like impatient in a good way, they get things done, they've got vision. I'm assuming you're like, wait a second.
Right. Well, I mean, no, seriously. No, there are people I can tell that's what they want, right? And so, and there's a fine balance. Like Gary Keller always said, it's better to have talent for 3 years than non-talent and have them never leave, right? And so sometimes you have that talent for a couple of years and you really benefit from having that talent around you, but true talent, if there's not a place on your team, they're going to move on. So I'm not completely opposed to, really driven people, but there's a balance there. You have to.
I think that's a great point though, because I think a lot of people would not hire up because they're out of fear that the person will eventually leave them. And I've never heard that perspective before. So thank you for that.
Yeah. No, there's always, because sometimes people like that can be disruptive. So, that's why with the KPA and all these different things, you have to really, that's why I'll tell you what, the whole interviewing and recruiting is very, make sure when you have a small team, one person can really cause a lot of disruption, right? And so it depends. I always say they gotta be honest, they gotta be humble, hungry, right? And that humble, that's a big part. So they can have this really big dream and this personality and this strong, but if they're humble, I'm fine with it. If they're not humble, no.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that I had a friend who was interviewing for a job recently, and I told them, hungry, humble, and smart.
And smart. Those are the three things, really, and honest. And I mean, there's got to be honesty and integrity, right?
They have to have a cultural fit with your.
And I'm learning, more and more right now. I'm realizing humble, because I can find a lot of talent. Humble right now is almost the number one, because you can have a real, a real strong personality come on board and just try to throw the whole ship upside down, right?
Yeah, I think 9 times out of 10, when you ask a big Keller Williams agent who grew a team, what were your hiring mistakes? They didn't pay enough attention to cultural fit. And I think doing a 90-day probationary period and setting that expectation from the get-go, that's so important because you have to have time to let their true personality come out. And one bad apple can spoil the whole thing.
And on the flip side, you have the people who come in and you think they're going to be these really, and all of a sudden they just sit there and with their mouth all up. Basically want to just do nothing, right? And I'll just expect the business to just literally, and I'll tell people, my business is like a helium balloon. The business is constantly blowing helium up the balloon to keep it up here, and you guys are all sucking the helium out. I mean, not in a negative way, but you're taking the business, and if everyone's sucking the helium out, that balloon's going to plop, right? And so they've also got to contribute. And so it is interesting. I've had people that you can tell within 2 minutes, all they want to do, they're people who are not generally doing well in the business, and they're hoping they can come to our office and do nothing and make a lot of business, right? And so you have to also try to cipher that out. Because what happens is, especially in our office, we have so many leads that even people that intend to be very productive and prospect and circle of influence, within 2 months, they realize, oh, wow, these leads are really easy. And they stop doing all of that, right? And so that's why you do want that person with a little bit of that drive, right? That grit. And so, like I said, it's really hard. And, that's why the KPA is the KPA, the whole process, the interview, the whole hiring process works out so well, right? If you follow it to a T.
Yeah, and I was going to say the career visioning process, one part of it that I overlooked a bit because by the time I got through 3/4 of it, I was burnt out. I was so tired. And so I didn't do the motivational grid to the extent I should have. And the motivational grid will show you what their personal and professional goals are in 5 years. And you have to really look at that and ask yourself, is this person in alignment with where we are going? Can we help take them there? And that was one of my mistakes, you know, as I was hiring, is I didn't look at that hard enough and realize maybe we're not in alignment. And also things changed for me.
Yeah. Well, that's why I find the life story very, very, it really exposes who they are, right? Because you're asking very specific, like, what happened here? What did you learn? What did you like? What didn't you like? You know, why did you leave, or why didn't you leave? So, you know what I mean? So that life story to me is really powerful. That tells me a lot about how they think.
That will reveal humble, and it will reveal victim.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I also look at, you know, there's that whole chart about talent versus non-talent. I don't know if you've ever seen that, right? Yeah. And I sort of keep that in the back of my head. You can start hearing very quickly certain victim mode sometimes, or you know what I mean? And that's with the life story. That I'll keep that grid with me, talent versus non-talent. You can really say, okay, I'll circle that. Wow, you know, I'm seeing way too much over here, like blaming other people, and you know, and the life story really helps expose that. And
yeah,
so,
absolutely. I love that idea of keeping that. So for those of you who don't know, the talent versus non-talent chart is from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it is a fantastic guide. Many of you who have made hires in the past will look at it and probably chuckle to yourself, because it's very illuminating when you realize, like, if work is being handed back to you, and you know, versus someone who's actually pushing you to the growth edge, you know, like that annoying, like, push, you know, for you to constantly be uncomfortable to go to the next step. That's a good thing.
That's the other thing too. People have to be growth minded, right? Because there's nothing worse than people who are content with where they're at, and you're trying to grow, and they're fighting you on everything, right? They like that.
That one hurt.
What's that?
That one hurt, because that one I can relate to that right now.
Yeah, well, you know, we went through a lot of change, right, in the last year and a half, and some of it was, you know, great people. They just didn't want to grow, right? And change is hard. I mean, it really is. And that's why it's so important that you have, you know, you really have growth-minded people on your team. So again, that life story, the whole career visioning is very powerful in making sure you bring the right people on board.
Martin, thank you so much for your time this morning. We went a little long, but the reality is I think this is a big nugget. This is probably my favorite video we've done.
Yeah, we'll have to edit a little bit.
I'll edit it. Don't worry about it. We'll even put a little blooper reel on the back.
Yeah. So.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks so much for your time. Happy Veterans Day, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this awesome video where we got to dig into the brain of Martin Bouma to understand what makes a talented hire versus a non-talented hire, and the paths between being a solo agent, joining a team, and heading your own team. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you later.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, wait, I pressed the wrong button. Oh, wait, hold on. There we go. That's definitely going in the blooper reel.
Yeah.
Go for it, Martin. You can do it too. I'll edit that out.
No. We'll have to redo this one. Edit that one out.